So Gottfried, let's talk a little bit about the impact of Fintechs on the whole financial services business. I mean, what are they doing in the payments space, and what do you think the impact is going to be?
Well, they're doing many things. I mean, look at the whole card space, where you now have startups that offer multi-currency cards that you can use everywhere. We've seen a whole number of new banks emerge in the UK, but elsewhere as well. There's RegTech, a whole set of startups to allow compliance with regulations, sanctions, etc. that are popping up. So in all areas, we see people trying out new technologies, new models, etc. Sometimes disrupting banks. In many cases, becoming a supplier to banks or working with the banks. So it's a very rich ecosystem. We've 9 years ago, I think, or 10 years ago already, we started InnoTribe to cater for that. And
exactly, and presumably in Toronto again, you know, InnoTribe will be there in force, and we'll see some fintechs displaying their latest services.
Absolutely. I can announce, by the way, that we'll have as a speaker Tim Berners-Lee at the InnoTribe, founder of the World Wide Web, or inventor of the World Wide Web. So that will be the typical rich offering. And again, emphasizing that in many cases, most of the value is to be had by cooperating with the fintechs and leveraging their technology and nimbleness with the installed base and knowledge that the banks have.
Now, what about a sector like small and medium-sized enterprises? Obviously, all governments are keen to get that sector dynamic. It drives economies, but often they don't have access to international trade and payments. Can fintech help with that?
Absolutely, and I think a lot of the access of foreign markets is, what do you call it, fintechs, is platforms that allow them to trade globally. I mean, Alibaba, eBay, all of these things allow you to sell in markets where you were never before. And the real challenge for banks will be, how can we facilitate that with payment and trade
because
finance.
those platforms are also starting to offer credit. So, absolutely. I mean, in some senses, they're competing with the banks.
Absolutely, and in some sense they're competing, but at the end of the day, they often don't have the plumbing, so they will need to rely on cooperation with the banks to move the money. They don't have banking licenses, where they do. So I think there's a role for both of them, but the real challenge for banks will be to hook into it. But the good news overall for small and medium enterprises, I think the world is becoming smaller and there are real opportunities.
But now one of the problems for banks in servicing that area is the whole AML, KYC problem and the massive regulations they have to follow. Of course, SWIFT does help with that, but I mean, can it really drill down that far?
Well, it can help them with them. And first, I mean, these are a given. If you want to move money internationally, you have to comply with it. And I would assume that any of the fintechs that are doing that will have to comply with that as well.
Because some of the banks think it's not a level playing field. That's why we kind of raised the subject.
And it may not be, but we'll see how it evolves. In many cases, you also see the regulators saying, well, let's not smother new initiatives directly. Let's see how it grows. If they really have scale, etc., we'll see how regulators will respond.
And of course, in some cases, the fintechs are working successfully with the banks. I mean, is that the way you see things going more generally, rather than head-to-head competition?
It will always be a little bit of both, right? And even if they cooperate, it'll be who captures the value at the end of the day. You would expect a healthy tension between the two parties in terms of capturing the value, deciding who gets which piece of the pie, as well as enlarging the pie together.
Gottfried, thank you very much. We're looking forward to InnoTribe in Toronto.
Thank you.